I started here in 1958 as an Iroquois camper. I was in cabin A, and a few years later they brought girls to the camp, and so that cabin was named, I think, Chippewa. But in any case, the timing was interesting because back in the 50s, before there were girls involved, the camp suffered a decline in enrollment. And this was, I believe, a consequence of the decision by the Y to admit blacks campers. So in trying to figure out how to increase the enrollment, they said, well, maybe we could take on girls. The YWCA doesn't have a camp, and they were interested. So in those days, the campers thought we had a vote. And from time to time, when devotions would occur, the campers would say, well, do we really want girls here, or is this a better camp for boys? And repeatedly, they voted not to allow girls. But honestly, in my recollection, the fact that we took girls in really changed the character of the camp in a way that was incredible. And so you started with a situation in the 50s where the guys that ran the camp had an attitude about how things were to be done that was nowhere near like what you see now. But I was a CIT at a time when one of my classmates, Ann Maloney, became the program director. And so up until that point, guys ran the camp, even though we had girls coming in and the staff and, you know, gaining, let's say, authority in the enrollment. It was largely a male-run operation. So you can imagine that during in the early 60s, when all this was transitioning, there were a lot of changes happening that I think the camp led the way in many ways. I can remember going into Chestertown and going to a bowling alley with my CIT group, and we had blacks in the group as well as others, and the bowling alley in Chestertown had white-only sign on it. So we weren't about that. You know, it was a family, as you've heard many people express earlier, that was closer than you might imagine. And that was a very informative, important part of the whole experience for me.